Today I'm talking to Anjali from Australia. Hi, Anjali.
Hi, Robert.
Because of climate change, Australia is experiencing higher temperatures, more extreme droughts and weather, rising sea levels, fires, and floods. Has climate change affected you in any way already?
Yeah, definitely. So in my lifetime, I've noticed that each year, summer's getting hotter and hotter. We're having heat waves, we're having extreme weather events and fires. But something that affected me personally, and that was quite shocking, is that I live near the coast. So I'm not really in a fire area. But back in 2020, when the whole of Australia was dealing with really detrimental bushfires, I woke up to find that my house was full of smoke from a fire that was burning in another state. So that was really shocking. And cities across the country were just blanketed in grey smoke. It was some of the worst fires that we've had during my lifetime. So that was pretty scary.
Wow. Canada and Australia are kind of similar in that they both have very high carbon levels. Actually, Canada ranks 5 places higher for carbon emissions. Both have politicians that have not been effective at reducing emissions so far. I hear that you are working to change that. You've been doing climate action since you were little. Can you tell us a bit about what you do to make a difference?
Yeah, definitely. So, since I was about 7, I was actually doing beach and river cleanups with my parents because from a young age, I was really passionate about the environment and helping animals and that sort of thing. But when I got into high school, so this was in 2020, I attended my first global climate strike. So, that was an event hosted by School Strike for Climate in Australia. And in my state, there were thousands of people who were attending this climate strike. And that was really inspirational for me because I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to help organise these events. So from about December in 2020, I joined School Strike for Climate Adelaide. And since then, I've been an organiser. So I've been helping with events and climate strikes. And I've also been a media spokesperson for the cause. So a lot of my work now is working with School Strike for Climate.
Cool. You are an amazing climate striker organizer. What are your goals at your strikes?
Yeah, so our goals are really focused on getting young people, especially students, to feel like they can make a difference and to use their voice. Even though we're young and we can't vote on who's in charge in the government, that doesn't mean that we can't make a difference by being out there and being on the streets and still, shouting and telling these politicians that we're not happy with what they're doing and we need them to do something differently. And so part of that and part of School Strike's demands that we want no new fossil fuel projects. So that includes, coal, oil, and gas by 2030. We want 100% renewable energy, and we want a just transition to fossil fuel workers. So that means that people who work with fossil fuels, we want them and their communities to still have jobs, even if we stop using coal and oil and gas.
What sort of thing would you like to tell other kids about Australia?
Well, I would like to tell them that, Australia is a really beautiful country and there are a lot of us working here, even though, our nation is a big emitter of fossil fuels. There are a lot of us and a lot of young people in our country who are trying to change that. And so hopefully the rest of the world won't be so held back by our government not ending investment in fossil fuels because we want that to change.
What is your day like?
So I go to school 5 days a week. Some days I start at 8 a.m., but some days I start at 10 a.m., which is good. So normally, I'll wake up, I'll have some tea. I don't tend to eat breakfast, but I'll go to school for about anywhere between 3 to like 6 hours. And then after school, some days I'll have a Zoom meeting with the school strike team. So we'll do about an hour of organizing, then I'll watch some TV because it's always good to have a bit of rest time. I'll eat dinner and then I'll work on my schoolwork to make sure that I'm on top of it. And then I'll go to bed. So I have a pretty boring day, but it's okay.
Cool. What is your favorite food?
My favorite food would have to be the pasta that my mum cooks. She's a really good cook, and pasta's just my favorite food.
What is your favorite thing to do for fun?
My favorite thing to do for fun would be, I really like going to the beach. So I love swimming and going to the beach. Even though I haven't been doing too much of that recently, I'd say it is one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, when I grow up, I would like to be a politician because I think that the people who are currently in Parliament aren't doing a good job and they aren't really listening to the views of young people. So I want to be there and be the change maker.
What is the best thing about your country?
There's actually a lot that I love about my country, but if I'd have to pick one thing, I would just have to say the landscapes. It's so beautiful. We have all these beaches and we have forests and we have such diverse wildlife, so plants and animals, which is why I think it's so important that we need to protect it and we need to ensure that we care for our environment here in Australia.
Yeah. As a thank you for joining us today, we'd like to make a donation on your behalf to your favorite environmental charity in Australia for 25 Canadian. What charity would you like us to make a donation to, and what do they do?
Well, I'd really appreciate if the donation went to a charity called SEED. So, SEED is Australia's first Indigenous youth climate network, and they're building a movement to fight for a strong, sustainable future with strong connections to cultures and communities and renewable energy. So, in Australia, First Nations people and around the world are at the forefront of the impacts of the climate crisis, but they're also on the front lines fighting for the solutions. And if we are going to go and fight climate change in a more sustainable world, we need to listen to Indigenous voices because they've been caring for this country, at least in Australia, for thousands and thousands of years. So I would love for the donation to go to them.
Thank you for joining us today. Click the link below to donate to Seed Mob, and remember, together kids can save the world. Bye.
Bye.